Hi, this is Levi from countertopepoxy.com. Thank you for joining us for another video. Make sure to subscribe and like our video and subscribe to our channel. Today we're going to be going over how to degloss a countertop to take off the gloss sheen and give more of a satin or a matte, and we'll explain how to get different looks. On the other side of this tape here, we're going to show you how to polish a countertop. So I'll get started. What we're using here today is just a cheap DeWalt sander from Lowe's or Home Depot. It's just a regular dual action random orbital sander. So what that means is it's going to turn while it oscillates. Essentially, it's not going to be as likely to leave sanding swirls or circles. A lot of times people will put sandpaper on the back of a buffer or something, or they'll do it by hand, and you start getting really ran marks or noticeable grooves or scratches. So you do want to use a DA sander like this. This is a variable speed. They're pretty inexpensive, very reliable. There's two ways to do this. You can either just bag it and do it dry. We're here in a training room that we can actually create a tiny little bit of dust. You could also hook a vacuum up to the back of this if you wanted to. The other way that we'll show you both of these is to do wet sanding. Now, wet sanding obviously mitigates all the dust, but you're gonna get a lot of debris like water spraying around and whatnot, so you're gonna wanna wear an apron like I am today. So the grit we're starting with right now today is 320. This is still just a cheap standard sanding disc you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot. And the reason we went with this is a lot of you guys don't want to try to find some specialty body shop supply place where you can get 800 grit sandpaper or 400 grit. But if you do, you can get a little smoother of a surface with, say, a 400 or a 600 grit sandpaper sanding disc. Just make sure that if you have Velcro on your sander, that you get the stick it or the Velcro hook and loop or whatever they call it. Just let them know that you have a Velcro sander so that you don't get sticky pads or something that's not actually going to adhere to your machine. So I'll get started. I'm going to show you doing this dry for part of it, and then I'm going to spray water and show you. Water also, not only does it keep the dust down, but if we have a fresher countertop, let's say you poured this 2 days ago and it's still just not fully cured, wet sanding really allows the sandpaper itself to stay really clean. It's not going to gum up little balls and chunks of your epoxy under there that'll make it difficult to sand. So it'll just keep it really clean, and it'll just keep cutting real easy. So if you have really fresh epoxy, definitely wet sand. This has been cured for quite a while. The sample's been all over the place, so it's getting scratched up and beat up. It's been on the back of trucks to home shows and whatnot. So we'll show you deglossed, and of course I'll polish it. So let's get started. So as you can see, it leaves a lot of the dust behind. It also, if you spray accents on the top of a clear coat, which we generally do, we always pour a base color and get our accents, and then generally just for a little added protection, we'll do a slow set premium epoxy. And when you pour that over the top of this, we'll spray a few accents just to get a little more of whatever the customer wants or whatever you want as a customer. That'd be what you'd be doing. And when you spray that on there, it lays on top, so it's very three-dimensional. It's really cool looking. Now, under normal wear and tear in a kitchen, even a commercial kitchen, you're never going to wear through the color that's on top. But if you do get too much of it on, say you oversprayed it, or even there's a big splatter on there or whatnot, you can sand through a good portion of that very easily if you're deglossing your countertops. So that's kind of what we're going to show you here. Now we're going to start doing this with water, and you'll see it'll be a totally different look, but essentially it's the exact same grit hitting the countertop. So even though it's going to look different from being wet, there's not any difference actually going to be happening. So use a spray bottle, and don't apply too much because you don't want to be spraying this all over your kitchen. Don't be afraid to get an old towel and put it down, kind of block it off. But remember, it's just a little bit of dust, so it will clean up. You might also slow your sander down. This one has a variable speed on it right here. So you might kind of play with this to see how fast you can go without spraying the water everywhere. So we go ahead and turn this down. So if you'll notice something that I did, the entire time I moved the sander even in circles, even though it's a random orbital sander and it's moving in circles, if you're too organized, like I used to do where I'd start out and I'd just try to be real organized and go back and forth in stripes, and what you end up having happen is when you stand back after you clean this up and you apply your wax and get the whole deglossed thing done with, you'll start seeing a pattern of where you ran each one of your lines. So definitely make sure you're just working small circles, just like you're scrubbing the countertop, really nice and slow. And slowing that down worked real well. It really didn't splatter very much water anywhere, and there's also no dust, so you're not gonna have to clean your kitchen any more than probably just your countertop a bit. Now, for the sake of the video here, we didn't actually just show you how to do the edges. All I do on any of my edges is run steel wool down it if it's anything with a contour to it. And make sure that you run your steel wool or whatnot on the edges before you sand your top. You also, if it's a flat front that you're doing, say it's a perfectly straight edge, you can just sand it really nicely. But generally I prefer to block sand that with a little foam block. And again, just get 320, which is the fine foam blocks. The edges get a lot thinner and you don't want to accidentally go through that edge and have a little spot where it exposes the countertop underneath or anything. So now that that's done, what we're going to do is apply some Eco Wax to this. We sell this on the website and it's food safe. And you can't believe right now, without any wax at all, this countertop is really smooth. It feels way smoother than actually the glossy side. And once you wax it, it's not going to bring any of the shine back, but it's going to bring some of that color back out, and then you're still going to get that satin look. Now, it's important when applying wax, you don't want to actually spray it on and then wipe it all the way back off. Your goal is to just really lightly and evenly massage that into the surface. So don't overdo it. Now that this is done, nothing's really going to stick to this. It's definitely going to be harder to see any kind of scuffing or scratching, and it's a lot harder to damage this. So have fun, call our office if you have any questions on this. And now I'm going to move right into polishing the other side and show you how we do that. And that's more, you might not be able to see it on camera, but this piece has some little scratches and surface scuffs, little swirls, nothing serious, but that's going to happen after 5, 6, 7 years of this stuff being used if you have a family and kids and whatnot using your countertops a lot. But the cool thing is it's epoxy. You have plenty of distance that you can just polish right into it and it'll look brand new again. And generally it's actually harder than brand new because it's been still hardening for the whole time, and surface polishing, it actually hardens it more. So what we have here is a DeWalt variable speed buffer. This definitely probably isn't the tool that every DIYer is going to have there at your house, but you can buy any buffing machine. You could even hand buff this, but you're probably going to be pretty buff when you get done. So definitely a lot of times at AutoZone, a lot of automotive part supply places have just a simple buffer that hooks right to a small drill. And so it's just an attachment. It probably costs about $40. And when you're thinking about a really nice set of countertops and you only have to do that probably once every 5 to 10 years, it's not really that big of a deal. We just have some of our regular countertop polish here that we sell on the website. We're going to apply this. You want to be somewhat generous with this, but not all in one spot. So definitely put this on in different areas. This is not a lot different than polishing a clear coat on a car, other than the fact that this is about 1,000 times thicker. So you have a lot more material. You're not going to just accidentally go through it in a spot. So we'll get started. Start off with a small section and work that area, and then move on to the next section. It is also important not to spin this too fast, because you'll actually just heat this up and it'll just dry it right out, and it's not going to continue to work any longer. So make sure you actually keep it slow enough to where it's not just drying out the actual polish itself. So. Just a really simple water cleanup here, just to wash any of that excess polish off before you wax it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode here. Make sure to like the video. Just hit the like button down at the bottom, and make sure to subscribe to our channel and call the office. If you ever have any of these problems or questions concerning this, call us up at 970-639-9338 and ask any of the girls or the installers how to go through this whole process to degloss, polish, anything, and we can help you through the whole process. Thanks again, and have a good day.